The plots of most works of fiction follow the same general outline. This general plan is best mapped out using a diagram called Freytag's pyramid. There is a picture of Gustav Freytag. He was a German novelist and playwright who lived from 1816 until 1895. And he developed his pyramid, which he wrote about in his 1863 book, Technik des Dramas. I don't know, it's in German. It translates to the technique of drama. And he used the term to describe the action of a 5-act play. Scholars and teachers have found that his pyramid can also apply to novels, short stories, and even some narrative poems, as well as plays. So, Freytag's pyramid generally has 5 parts that a plot is divided into: the exposition, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the denouement, or the resolution. Denouement is a French term. So the exposition contains introductory material and often creates the tone of a work of fiction or a play. It introduces the setting and characters and supplies other facts necessary for understanding the narrative. The rising action introduces the complication or the conflict, and it provides explanation and development of that conflict. The climax is the point of most interest in the narrative. There are a couple ways we can think about the climax. So basically the climax is what everything that comes before it in the story is working toward. So it's the point of most interest, like I said. At this point, the conflict is resolved in some way, and it is sometimes referred to as the turning point, since it is the point at which the conflict's resolution is inevitable. So basically, by the time we reach the climax, there's only one way that the remainder of the story can go, if it's a good short story, based on all that has happened up to that point, right? So the climax, point of most interest, the conflict is resolved, and it's the turning point. It's the point at which there's only one way that the story can end up. And then basically after the conflict is resolved, we have the falling action. Everything that happens based on the resolution of the conflict occurs, and the story begins to wind down. The narrative begins to wrap up. And then basically that wrapping up is the denouement. Sometimes, like I said, referred to as the resolution. It is simply the end of the narrative.